Hey, Hussein.
Hi, Steve. Hi, DJ. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, we are past the time. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's GitLab distribution demo. In this week, I'm going to try to deploy, to use one of the work in progress features to deploy a GitLab HA database cluster using Patroni instead of Rep Manager. As I said, this is still a work in progress, but we're going to use it and hopefully we can integrate it with the next release of GitLab and make it available to everyone that wants to opt in for it. You can still use Rep Manager, but this is an opt-in solution. And if you choose to use Patroni for now, you either have to choose Patroni or Rep Manager. You can have, and we haven't tested the switch over between these two yet. So for the purpose of this demo, I prepared Terraform and some shell scripts to facilitate and speed up the deployment and test. So it's available from the link in the demo notes, but I'm going to use it, start using it. So without any further ado, let's start deploying the cluster. This script deploys a 3-node database cluster and an application node, sets up the database nodes, sets up Patroni on database nodes and PG bouncer and Rails application on application node. So this is the simplest database cluster that can be deployed. So let's start deploying. So let me quickly go through the Terraform. So these are the resources database nodes, which will be created by number of replicas. You can increase it. And the application node, and then it starts calling the shell scripts in the order specified here. And the order, it's already documented actually here. So first it installs the GitLab, and it fetches it from the MR at the moment because it's not publicly available. It's an artifact that is built and in the pipeline of the MR. And then it starts configuring the node, sets up GitLab RB with the preferred values, and then runs a post installation. So let's take a quick look at these scripts while it is deploying. So this is the install script, nothing special about it. You can download and install it. The configure part is a bit different. So we have 2 configuration nodes. one for application and the other one for database. So this is the amount of configuration that is needed for database, and this is for application, and that's it. For now, I disabled running reconfigure, and I will. I want to do it manually after going through some of the checks. And after configuration of the node, it just runs the next step that is needed for starting the application, the Rails application, which is, well, in our documentation, we need to run GitLab write PG pass to allow console to override the document, the configuration of PG bouncer, which I automated it here. And then you need to run the GitLab rake reconfigure. So this is based on the documentation of PostgreSQL HA, but with some adjustments to fit Patroni. Okay, so let's see. Okay, we are running. Before, I just want to make sure that I am not having the existing SSH keys and okay. Let me put these things aside. This thing. So this is DB2. This is DB1. Just bear with me until I order these things. This is the 0. Are the texts readable on the screen? The terminal texts? And this is the application node. Okay.
Yeah, I would say it's readable. It's maybe a tad small if you could bump. If it's easy to bump up the size one more, it's probably.
Yeah. Is this good enough?
Yeah, I think that's a little bit better. Yeah.
Okay. So let me just make them a bit bigger because we want to go through the screen. So I just want to make sure that everybody sees the screen. Sometimes these texts get too small. Because we want to go through the failover and recovery as well. So it's important to have all these screens on. So let's take a look, before we go ahead, let's take a look at the configuration of a database node. So the only special thing here is that we enabled Patroni and disabled Rep Manager. Actually, explicitly disabling Rep Manager is one of the shortcomings of this the current solution for Rep Manager. For Patroni. So this needs to be fixed. You shouldn't have to disable Rep Manager explicitly. when you enable Patroni, it should be disabled automatically. So we are testing against PostgreSQL 11. Everything else is similar to Rep Manager. Actually, you need less configuration here. If you compare it to Rep Manager, you need to specify the number of wall senders. You don't have to do it with Patroni. It's way simpler. And the same thing with the user configuration and console. The same configuration is used on all the nodes, so there is no difference between master and the leader and the replica. As a matter of fact, we don't know which one of these are going to be the replica or the master, because it will be decided. It depends which one of them acquires a lock and can bootstrap faster. So I'm just gonna go ahead and let's take a look at application node. So we are enabling PG Bouncer here. PG Bouncer configuration is still the same. Nothing changes here comparing to Rep Manager. So no difference, except you enable Patroni, that's it. So let's run GitLab.
So Hossein, a quick question for you. With no expectation of a primary database node, how do administrators know which ones to back up and inform their systems, like when they want to do data backups?
Well, right at the moment, you cannot decide it beforehand, but it depends if you start. Well, okay, let me explain it. It depends on your console cluster. So if you have a running console cluster, if you bootstrap one node, if you enable Patroni on one node, that node by default becomes the master. So the first one that is enabled becomes the master, and everyone else becomes the follower. But if you don't have the console cluster, you can't really say which one becomes the first one. But let's say if I start reconfigure on this DB0 and give it some time, give it a head start, and then start doing the rest, I might be able to get the first one. I mean, I might be able to make this one the leader, but you cannot really predetermine that. You have to do that, you need to start the cluster first and then use Patroni CTL to make one of them the master. Did I answer your question?
Kind of, I guess. What's the implication for a cluster administrator that they can't necessarily, like, if they're not aware of that, or they don't, like, when you have, the data backup, if it changes, if it fails over, how are we handling their backup situation? So now we have a database backup you can run through PG control, but customers also just back up the core data path, like the file path, where the Postgres var data lives. So if we don't know where the actual, the primary node is, how do they set that targeting?
So it's probably similar.
You don't know it before you start it. So and the point of having a cluster is that there are replicas. They are similar to each other. So if you make a backup from any one of them, they are basically similar. They just don't accept the connection yet.
Yeah. So if you want to make a backup, if you want to make a backup of the master, and say your backup solution is only backing up the master, you have to ask, in this case, Patroni, who the master is before you do your backup. That's the same with Rep Manager at the moment as well. If you need to specifically grab the master, you need to ask Rep Manager which one is the master.
And does Patroni make that available via?
Sorry, you shouldn't be just grabbing the files anyways. You need to actually tell PG to coalesce the state before you can grab the files. So anybody who's literally doing a volume snapshot is probably also aware of where the master actually is, so they can actually tell it to coalesce.
Okay, I might have something here for you. What is added to this new feature is a Patroni subcommand, which at the moment only supports two commands, two subcommands. Actually, two subcommands. One of them is check leader, and the other one is check replica. And the reason that we don't have another one, because this is what I mean. Another more descriptive one to tell you which one is the leader is that it's not already implemented. It can be implemented easily. You can ask who is the leader, but the thing is, this one is used by console to just monitor the cluster. So if I ask this one, who is the leader, it just tells you I'm not the leader, even though we started doing this earlier. So let's see if, yeah, this one is the leader. And this one is not. It's interesting.
So right now, it doesn't actually give back a host name or an entry for if you query leader. So does console give that back if you query the console member to try and get the leader off of that?
Yes, because when we started GitLab Reconfigure, we didn't have a running console cluster. So as soon as console cluster came up, one of them grabbed the lock and managed to bootstrap itself and mark itself as the leader, and the rest became the follower by default. If I had a running console cluster and I bootstrapped the first one could do that earlier. But since we did it almost simultaneously without having a console cluster, it really depended on which one, when the console cluster became available.
I guess it's more of a question of this. I'm looking at this from the standpoint of the orchestrator. So cluster comes up, I have to log into every database node and grep for the one that says I am the leader. I can't. There's no way for me to say, hey cluster, who's your primary?
No, I can. No, you don't have to. If you connect to one of them, you can identify which one is the leader. You don't have to run this command against all the nodes. If you run a command, which we don't have it yet, if you query the API of Patroni, it will tell you which one is the leader. But the thing is, you don't know who is the leader before running that query. That's one step that you need to take. Query the consult Patroni, who is the leader, and it will tell you which one. And then you can go and run the backup against the leader that is identified by Patroni. But the thing is, if you want to do a backup at that point, you need also to check before running your backup, you need to check that, is it still leader? Okay. I am curious to see how Patroni look like. Based on the command that we run, I'm sorry, okay. So this one is the leader. So let's come back to the application node. And this is where so before doing that, I just want to check if the console is actually, never mind. Let's start bootstrapping the application node. So the application node, what it does, it just, actually, hang on, before doing that, I just want to make things a bit easier. I'm gonna disable graph now. So Robert, going back to your question, let me bring up the Patroni API manual because I am not. So let's say you are connecting to one random node, which is this one, the first one that we connected. So there is it's missing 8,000. Sorry. Let me see which one. The Patroni runs an API on the cluster, so you can consult that. So let's take a look at the configuration.
Is that API externally accessible at all?
Sorry?
Is that API externally accessible at all?
No, not at all. You need to run it against a node. And ideally, every useful command that we need should be translated into GitLab-CTL Patroni subcommands. I just need to cheat and take a look at the YAM file. Okay, it's 8009. Okay, if you do that, it tells you what is the role of this cluster. It gives you some information, but I'm gonna find which one actually tells you the information. I think it's the cluster endpoint. One of them tells you who's the leader. Okay.
Looks like
Yeah.
it's the role.
It tells you this one, this node.
Role leader versus role replica is what it looks like is the difference there.
So if you connect to this role, this one would be the leader. This is the host name. So in order to identify who is the leader from one of the nodes, you just need to take a look at that. Or alternatively, you can also look it through console. Yeah, here's the, sorry. If you look up this key, the name of the cluster, this is based on a template. This is the name of the cluster. So if you look up this key, it will tell you which node is the leader. Okay,
Yep.
We have the application node coming up. I just need to check a couple of things on application node before I proceed. I just want to make sure that we configured it correctly. The first one is okay. Hasn't been created. So let me do the, I'm following it right now. I'm following the step that is needed to set up the PG bouncer. And that's, bear with me a second. Running PG pass, writing PG pass. Now let's take a look at PG bouncer. Hopefully, okay. doesn't look okay here because it doesn't seem that we are connected. Right now, what should have happened is that console should have been, the console on this node should have been able to get the leader from the cluster and override the PG Bouncer database configuration. I'm just gonna check that. Actually, that's correct.
Yeah, I've found, so separate from Patroni, I often find that after you do the PG pass right, you have to restart and potentially even reconfigure PG Bouncer, like CTL reconfigure.
Yeah, sometimes it happens. One thing that I notice is that if the GitLab reconfigure fails, if the reconfigure command fails, it doesn't write the public attributes file. And when it doesn't do that, the PGB notify doesn't work. So you will have to reconfigure again, fix the error, reconfigure again, make sure that the public attributes are written, and then restart console. Console needs a kick again to rewrite the that database's INI file.
Yep, there's a problem with PG pass, and that's in the orchestrator provisioner code. There's a rewrite that happens specifically to kick that.
That's actually great. This is the only pitfall here. It can't go. Actually, if you check my repository, the post install has a shell script line to kind of automate that. So
yep, that's one of the things with the HA that the orchestrator is supposed to help with. Some of these things that are like all the nodes can't be aware of each other. So getting that done and then kicking it again to make sure it works. That's why it's kind of that extra layer above. So we should hopefully have some insulation around this sharp edge here in a bit. So
okay. So I'm not sure why.
The logs are reporting. I don't know if this is expected, but it's saying no user on that connection.
I don't know why it is doing that, and I don't know which one. It could be GitLab exporter doing it, but it shouldn't look like this. Let's look at the PGP console again. It doesn't look okay to me. At any rate, I'm gonna just call GitLab rake to see if it initializes the database. But something tells me that it didn't go well. No, it doesn't look okay to me. Yeah. Is not all right. I'm not sure if PGP notify actually worked here or not. I'm just gonna do the dumbest thing and just pick the PG bouncer because I was expecting it to work. Yeah, it just needed a kick. That's weird. It should have been, PGP notify should have done that. I mean, console when, okay, let's take a look at.
Yeah, like that's exactly what happens to me as well if I don't get that PG right in before PG bouncer first starts up.
Let's take a look at this. Okay. It failed. No method error. I know what it is. I know what it is. Looks like the first one was the first error message was this one because I ran into it before. This means that the public attributes is not available. Get public attributes returns null, or sorry, empty. The second one, this one is new. Could it be that I entered the password incorrect? It is constantly failing. It is constantly failing. Just let me just again, just out of curiosity, because I think I might have entered the. No, that's not. I mean, it would be very hard to enter this wrong. This is the password, no. Anyway, right now it is working, so let's. So this is all GitHub exporter that tries to query the database on non-existent relationships. So all these missing relations, missing tables, or just that. Okay, okay, okay. We have it. So moment of truth. Let's see if we have a running instance or not, because honestly, I didn't get this far. To grab this. Oh, yeah.
When you said you hadn't gotten this far, Jose, is this the first time you've managed to get the whole thing?
I see a GitLab instance running. I mean, I ran the rake, but I never started the application. So this is a very glorious moment. I see the application running against the Patroni cluster for me. Okay, so let me just try to play with database and good.
So close.
Looks like Italy. No, no, don't do this to me.
The good news is it doesn't appear to be Italy,
It's not a problem. It's templating issue.
which actually means you probably have a database problem. Question is, what migration didn't get run?
I just okayed everything. Should I do another GitLab CTL migration, GitLab rake migration?
You should be able to do a status.
It actually has been. Oh, okay.
Yeah, what's happening is it's trying to go and fetch the piece of information in regards to this project and its CI minute usage. It's trying to pull metadata on the project and it can't because it's not there.
Okay, just let me. Is it migration or migrate? Okay. How should I do this? No, I don't see. Okay.
Try restarting the unicorn service. And probably Sidekick as well. Just make sure.
Why are we starting unicorn? Let's start everything that we are restarting.
Let's do it, yeah.
Actually, these two last lines here, it shows that the script that was supposed to do failover, this is the failover logs. This is working. So the configuration is right there. Oh, okay, this is different one. We're still starting. Still. Okay. Yeah. Just need a restart. Okay. Now I'm gonna just test the failover. So I'm gonna kill. Okay, I should have some so to help. I should have showed you this before, but if you take a look at status, you don't have PostgreSQL service here anymore. This is I think this is the most controversial one. There is no PostgreSQL anymore. It is managed by Patroni. So if you just want to restart your PostgreSQL, if you want to kill it, if you want to do anything to your PostgreSQL instance in the cluster, you just need to do it with Patroni.
That might freak some users out.
Okay. Let's see which one becomes the.
We've been dealing with a similar thing with, not exactly the same, but with Sidekick and Sidekick cluster. So we decided for now just to lie, and we just call it Sidekick, even though under the hood it's Sidekick cluster. And nobody knows.
We can still call it PostgreSQL. Okay, here we go. And that. Let's see if it's still working. Okay, this one, DB0 became the master. The application is still hanging in there. Okay. I would say this is a better experience comparing to Rep Manager. Now, I'm not fast enough to do this, but I just want to do something in the middle of, I want to kill the master right in the middle of, okay, let me bring up this one up first.
So you could use a sleep command and then call it, and there's 3, 2, 1, click.
Okay. Let's see if I can do it fast enough. Now I am adding some comments here. Here we go. We have a leader. Oh.
And the lower right took over leader.
The lower right. Let's try it again. Let that one be still dead. Let's run with only one.
So Jose, do you have 3 DB nodes? Because we were talking about this being the minimal setup. Is it just because console requires 3 console nodes, or does Patroni also require 3?
No. Patroni doesn't require. You can run Patroni only on a single node as well. The other thing is that console, a reliable for reliability, you can run console on one node as well. You just need to set the expect with a strap attribute.
Yeah, okay. I guess I'm asking how does Patroni do its leader election? Is it doing it in such a way that we can have 2 without changing any settings, or is it like console where you need an odd number?
You can still have one. You can still have one node, and that will respond. And the thing is, Patroni just delegated all of the split brain problem to DCS. So it doesn't really do much about it. It doesn't do anything specific about it. So I'm gonna just push it a bit instead of I just want to add a reaction. So stop, add a reaction. That was quick. If you take a look at the upper right, that one, and that's the last node that took over quite fast. And let's see if my reaction is there or not. Oh, actually, you know, I double clicked on it. So that one was correct. It took it over. I just double clicked on it and it became 0. Wow. But I think now it's because we are 15 minutes past our end of demo. Looks okay. It looks promising. There are some caveats though. The current implementation does not support PostgreSQL SSL. It could be added later. I found that one, which means the explicit shutdown of Web Manager. And this one is only tested on a single PostgreSQL 11 cluster. No geo node, no geo verification yet. And that's the simplest scenario that I have got working. So any question, comment?
How long do you think before it'll be ready for initial review?
I think at this point it is ready for initial review because all the pieces that are working are there, but there are room for improvement and enhancement. Certainly missing test cases is a problem for the final review. I didn't write any test case. I just kept building it to make it sure that it's working. Because to be honest with you, up until yesterday afternoon, which is I am early morning right now, it wasn't working. Right now it can be reviewed. It's ready for initial review. But during the review, I think it gives me some time to improve the some of the pieces that I don't like still. For configuration, for example, Patroni configuration structure is not, I don't think it's good. And SSL as well. SSL is needed to be there.
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah, if you think it's ready for people to start taking a look at to provide feedback on the approach, yeah, please ping the distribution team in
Sure.
on it. I would love to take a look at it for sure. I'm out tomorrow though, but you know, Ian and Balu might want to be digging into it as well.
Yeah, I will double ping the team in the Slack channel as well, just to get enough attention, because I know that missing PostgreSQL there is just the first thing that catches your eyes, because there is no PostgreSQL service anymore.
Yeah, it'll be good to get a bit of review in on it because it's such a big change before we get too much into polishing even this iteration, right? Just so you don't spend too much time on polish if we end up changing something.
For me, it's like an itch. You know, I cannot stop myself, cannot hold myself back. I need to fix that. I mean, I cannot sleep well at night. I need to fix those, polish those corners. Okay, thank you for joining, and thank you for your feedbacks. I will keep you all in the loop, ping you in the ticket and the MR. Please take a look, give me some feedback, give me your comments, and hopefully we can get this done in the next release.
Thanks, Jose.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks, Sam. Later.
See you guys.